Sometime this week, you're going to stick out your right hand. Maybe it's a job interview. Maybe you're meeting your friend's new boyfriend. Maybe it's just some guy at a barbecue. And without thinking about it for even half a second, you'll grip a total stranger's hand, pump it up and down a couple of times, and let go. You won't wonder why. Nobody does. But think about how strange that actually is. You are voluntarily grabbing the body part of a person you may have known for 4 seconds. You're pressing your skin against their skin. In almost any other context, walking up and grabbing a stranger's hand would be bizarre, even threatening. And yet we do it millions of times a day, all over the world, and we call it polite. So where did this come from? Why the hand? Why the right hand? And why on earth do we shake it up and down like we're trying to start a lawnmower? The answer goes back thousands of years, and it starts, believe it or not, with the very real possibility that the person in front of you was about to kill you. Let's start with the weapon. For most of human history, meeting a stranger was genuinely dangerous. There were no police to call, no cameras. If you ran into someone on a road between villages, that person could be a traitor, or a traveler, or someone who'd happily cut your throat for your boots, and you had no way of knowing which one you'd gotten. Here's the key detail. Almost everybody is right-handed. Roughly 9 out of 10 people, then, now, and always, which means your right hand is your weapon hand. It's the hand that holds the sword, the knife, the club. So imagine you're walking up to a stranger. What is the single most reassuring thing you could possibly do? You extend your right hand, open and empty, with no weapon in it. You're saying, without a word, look, my killing hand is busy, it's holding yours, I can't stab you and you can't stab me, so we're both safe. That's the handshake. At its core, it was a weapons check. But it gets better, because a sword wasn't the only thing you had to worry about. You could hide a small dagger up your sleeve, a little blade tucked against your forearm. So in ancient Greece and Rome, the greeting often wasn't a modern palm-to-palm shake at all. It was a grip of the forearm. You'd clasp each other's arms, hand around the wrist, and squeeze firmly right where a hidden blade would be. And that shaking motion, the up and down pump we still do today, one of the leading theories is that it was designed to shake anything loose. You'd jostle the other person's arm hard enough that any knife tucked in a sleeve would come rattling out. So the friendly little handshake you'll give your boss on Monday may literally be a fossilized full-body pat-down. We have proof this greeting is ancient too. There's a carving in a museum in Berlin from the 9th century BC showing an Assyrian king and a Babylonian king clasping hands to seal an alliance. The Greeks carved handshakes onto tombstones. They even had a word for it, dexiosis, the joining of right hands, often showing the living and the dead clasping hands one final time. So this gesture is at least 3,000 years old, and possibly far older. But here's what's fascinating. For most of that time, the handshake was not how ordinary people said hello. Because for thousands of years, how you greeted someone had nothing to do with safety. It was about rank. Think about it. For most of human history, societies were rigidly hierarchical. There were kings and there were peasants, lords and servants, and everyone in between. And your greeting had to broadcast exactly where you stood. If you met someone above you, you bowed. You curtsied, you tipped your hat, or you took it off completely. You might drop to a knee or kiss a ring. A greeting was a performance of inequality. It said, I am below you and we both know it. A handshake does the opposite. When two people shake hands, they do the exact same motion with the exact same body part, using the exact same force. It's symmetrical. It says, we are equals. And in a world built entirely on rank, that idea was almost radical. So who pushed it? Who took this ancient weapons check and turned it into the everyday greeting of the modern world? The best answer historians have points to a group you would not expect. The Quakers. In 17th century England, the Quakers had a genuinely revolutionary belief that all people were equal before God. And they hated the whole theater of bowing and scraping and hat-tipping, because to them, treating a lord differently than a beggar was an insult to the idea that every soul is worth the same. So they refused to bow. They refused to remove their hats for their so-called betters. This got them mocked, and sometimes it got them arrested. And in place of all that ranking and bowing, they offered one gesture to everyone, rich or poor, high or low. They shook your hand. Same grip for a duke, same grip for a farmer. Over the next couple of centuries, as the old rigid hierarchies started cracking, as revolutions swept France and America, as the idea spread that maybe people really were born equal, the handshake spread right along with it. It was the perfect gesture for a world that was at least trying to flatten itself out. It quietly became the default, the neutral, the normal way to say hello. And here's the part nobody talks about. We think of the handshake as just a habit now, a meaningless social reflex. But your body has never stopped treating it as an information exchange. It's still gathering data. You just aren't aware of it. In 2015, researchers at the Weizmann Institute in Israel filmed hundreds of people greeting each other with handshakes. Then they watched what those people did right afterward. What they found was almost unbelievable. After shaking hands with a stranger, people were dramatically more likely to bring that same hand up near their face and sniff it. Not obviously, not consciously. They'd rub their nose or rest their hand near their mouth. But hidden cameras and airflow sensors showed they were pulling air in. You are, it turns out, secretly smelling people after you shake their hand, a little bit like a dog does. We're gathering chemical signals, sweat, hormones, who knows what, through a gesture we assumed was purely mechanical. The weapons check quietly became a chemical check, and nobody sent you the memo. And the data your hand gives away goes even further. Studies have found that your grip strength is one of the single best predictors of your overall health, and even of how long you're going to live. A weak handshake isn't just a social slip-up. On some level, when we grip someone's hand, we're taking a reading of how strong, how healthy, how alive that person is. 3,000 years later, the handshake is still a scan. We just upgraded what it's scanning for. But here's the twist. After all those thousands of years, after surviving swords and kings and revolutions, the handshake almost died, and it happened recently, in your lifetime. Because in 2020, a virus swept the planet, and suddenly the whole point of the handshake got turned inside out. The gesture that for 3,000 years had said you are safe with me became the exact opposite. It became one of the most dangerous things you could do, a direct bridge for the thing everyone was terrified of. One of America's top infectious disease experts went on the record and said flatly that maybe we should never shake hands again. So for a strange couple of years, we didn't. We bumped elbows, we waved, we pressed our palms together and nodded. A gesture older than the Bible just stopped, and then slowly it came back. Because it turns out you can't easily kill a habit that's 3,000 years old and wired into the way we read each other as safe. So the next time you reach out and shake a stranger's hand, notice what's actually happening in that half second. You're extending your weapon hand to prove it's empty. You're gripping the exact spot where a hidden dagger used to hide. You're performing a tiny ritual of equality that the Quakers once went to jail defending, and your body is quietly sampling the air for the other person's scent, reading their health through their grip, deciding far below the level of thought whether this person is a friend or a threat. All of that in a gesture you'll give without a single conscious word. We turned a survival check into a formality, a pat-down into a pleasantry, a test of whether you were about to kill me into a simple nice to meet you. And most of us go our whole lives never knowing that every time we do it, we're still quietly checking for the knife.